Hey, what's up guys, Lewis here with Shutterstock Tutorials with a quick tip, newbie friendly video tutorial today exploring 3 different light modifiers for when you're filming interviews in the bright hot sun. Okay, nowhere special for today's tutorial, just in my back garden doing a bit of filming here, and it's the perfect time to demonstrate these techniques. So if you're brand new to filmmaking, you may not know that it's not ideal to film on the bright midday sun because the sun is going to be bright, the shadows are going to be harsh and crisp, and it's going to create a contrasty image which isn't necessarily aesthetically pleasing to look at. From the example below, we can see the shadow moving across the actress's face does not look visually pleasing and to some extent quite distracting. And as pointed out by the actress on set, it's also not comfortable regarding both the heat and the intense light being beamed onto her face. So let's have a look at a few methods in how we can move away from these harsh shadows. Okay, so the first thing we're going to look at doing is blocking the light, which is what any reasonable person wants to do on a hot sunny day. And for filmmaking, we're going to do that with one of these. This is called a flag. It's a 24 by 36 inch size flag, which is comparably small to a lot of larger flags you'd find on a professional film set, but for no budget, indie budget, this size flag is great. And it's used to create a negative fill, to create contrast on the side of someone's face, or to shape and block light. So let's have a look at how we're going to do that with sunlight. To use the flag, you attach it to a C-stand, and because this is a small and light flag, we can just attach it straight to the stand without having to boom it out. And of course, you then position it above the talent until it completely blocks the sunlight. If you don't have a flag, I guess any black opaque material will do. As you can see, there is a significant difference upon moving the flag into place. However, there is one thing to note about using flags. Because we have now completely blocked the sunlight, the exposure of the actor will be inherently different from your initial reading. As a result, you will need to adjust exposure to brighten the image, as it's likely your talent will now be slightly underexposed. However, if your camera doesn't have great dynamic range, you will find that the exterior, which is still being exposed by the sunlight, may become too bright. To accommodate this, you can look to take a meter reading of the exterior, then a second meter reader of the talent, and expose halfway between both readings. Even if your camera doesn't have great dynamic range, you should be able to lower the highlights and lift the shadows to get a balanced image. Okay, so now I've got the flag up top blocking the sunlight because I've brought this down to show you guys. This is a 42 by 42 inch scrim gym or diffusion sheet, and what this does, instead of blocking the sunlight, this is going to take the sunlight rays, dissipate them across the fabric and diffuse, soften the light. It's going to make a more flattering light for your subject. Like the flag, you want to position the diffusion material directly in the path of the sunlight. While the flag has one job, to block light, and is constructed from an opaque material, scrims are entirely different. You'll see some scrims that look like nets, as they are often called. They are created from wire and they will reduce the intensity of light. This reduction is dependent on the density of the wire meshing. However, you can also get scrims created from translucent woven material like the one I'm using, and this will additionally diffuse hard light into soft light as well as reducing the intensity of the light. Given that they also alter the character of the light, these are typically called silks to avoid confusion. And again, the density of the material will vary how much light is reduced. Now, the scrim I'm using is 3/4 stop diffusion. And looking at the before and after, we can see it's not really strong enough to diffuse sunlight fully. It would have been preferable to have at least 1 to 2 stops of diffusion. However, we can see there is significant less contrast to the image when comparing it to the before and after. In this example with the flowers, as there was significantly less intense sunlight, the softening of the image is more pronounced. For the final recommendation, we're going to look at our 5-in-1 reflector. I was actually a little reluctant to include this because I feel like it's somewhat obvious, but then again, if you are new to filmmaking, perhaps it might not be. But the way in which we use a 5-in-1 reflector is a little different than the first 2 tips, so let's have a look. Instead of blocking or deflecting the sunlight, we're going to use the sun to add light back into the scene to try and remove those shadows. In my example, the shadows appear on the left-hand side of the actor's face, our right. Therefore, you will need to place the reflector beneath the left-hand side of the actor so that light is reflected into the darkened area of the actor's face. This will raise the shadows and give a somewhat equal exposure to the front. However, we are of course still under very bright sunlight with no diffusion or flagging, and as a result the image will still be overly saturated and promote areas of strong contrast. Therefore, we can do something that isn't typically recommended. Reposition our camera so the talent's back is against the sun. Now on a bright sunny day, this isn't usually recommended because it requires you to expose the actor, which is going to leave the sky extremely overexposed. Or alternatively, you could expose for the sky and let your actor become a silhouette. However, the reflector allows us to do something different. We can expose more towards the sky, then use the bright illumination from the sun to bounce the light into the actor's face. And because the reflector scatters light like the diffusion sheet, the result is a beautiful soft light. Alright, I've been Lewis with Shutterstock Tutorials. I hope you have found this information useful if you're brand new to filmmaking and you're struggling with very contrasty images. Of course, with the recommendations mentioned here throughout today, there are of course inexpensive DIY budget variations such as a towel, a bed sheet to diffuse the light opposed to having the scrim kit. But anyway, I'll catch you guys next time and I'll see you soon.